Hey, hope everyone's hanging in there in the isolation chamber of our lives right now. Thought I would do a video here. It's a request from Monochromatic Panda, so thanks. And they ask if an INTJ is asked a personal question, will they try and redirect the conversation away from themselves? So she goes, or he, whoever they are, goes on to say a couple of different caveats regarding this. Like, is it a certain, like, the time that you know that person, or can, like, a certain type of relationship you have with them that make it so that they will engage maybe in more personal conversations. So again, I'm only speaking from my own personal self, and everyone has their own opinions, and I'd love to hear other people's comments on the way they approach this type of situation. Personally, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the question of known. Knowing someone is a very subjective term, and as for myself personally, as an INTJ, I find we are taking in so much information regarding someone that we would consider bringing into the next layer of the fold, I guess. We can't help it. We are constantly just thinking. It's kind of a compliment too if you get past, if you want to hang out with an INTJ, if you're getting past that initial acquaintance type of situation where you meet at a party once every 6 months or 2 years and are able to do the high level chit chat. That's usually where most of those relationships kind of end. But if you're having meaningful engagement with an INTJ and there is interest, usually it's pretty straightforward on our end that if we're displaying interest in a conversation that is above and beyond just the superficial, you'll notice that there's more engagement with body language, with eye contact. We don't look like we're trying to, careen to the door. And that's usually a positive indicator that they are interested in having something more in depth. So I should also mention that with an INTJ, at least for myself, the idea of personal is very potentially different than other people, because for myself, I find that some things that are super personal to me, maybe more on the ideas and concepts and theories of things that other people might not be interested in, I'm more there's a tendency, I guess, to hold back on some of those conversations. You'll see my cat walking around here. You want to see? Hi, this is our kitty, Gary. Anyways, so there is, it's difficult, but you would be already getting a sense from the INTJ that you're chatting with that there is a type of camaraderie, I guess, between the two of you, and that may be an opportunity that if you are trying to ask something that might be a little bit more on the personal side, that they would be more open. So for myself, I have quite a few topics that I have no problems chatting about that other people might not want to chat about, because I think that they are not something that I hold where they're sensitive to me, but they might be sensitive to someone else. So, but at the same time, we also are very aware while we're doing the assessment of the environment and the context in which we are in, that if there's something that is a disconnect between the environment and some of the dialogue that's going down between two people within that environment, it will be something that will probably kind of tactfully, I guess, shut down and redirect. For myself personally, I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of chatting about myself. So in conversations, because I find that to be a huge conversation killer. And because of the fact that people 99% of the time want to talk about themselves. And so if you're in a social situation, I myself at least have a tendency to try and bring the context back to the other person, ask their opinion. Also because I find it very fascinating to learn more about other people, their opinions, their thought processes, that type of thing. And it becomes more of an engaging situation rather than like an interview type of feel. And especially in a social situation, you can run into that type of setup where next thing you know, you're feeling like you're in the hot seat. And I mean, no one wants that, regardless if they're INTJ or not. I'm just looking at my notes here. But just speaking a little bit further on the personal question type of thing. In this, monochromatic panda mentioned like a specific length of time. So they gave me the example of, say, you knew someone for a year and a half. I know for myself that that's not a context that is a value measure for me. I have had people in my life that I've known for 23 years, and while I absolutely think they're great people, they're not the type of folk that I would be going and doing in-depth, deep conversations with. And then alternatively, I've had friends that I've known for like a week, and just either right time in the right place or the synchronicity of where we're at in our thought processes, that there's an openness there that comes out that it wasn't expected to be seen. But tied to that, there is an underneath current of, say, certain characteristics that tie into how our not necessarily our introversion, we do take it inside, but the certain part of the characteristics of the person we're talking to. For myself, there's a checklist. It is, say, authentic. If you're noticing, there's no disconnect again between what you're seeing and what you're feeling with regards to discussion with that person. Is there eye contact during conversations, or are they roaming the room with their eyes and wanting to be somewhere else? Is there sincerity on their end in how they are chatting as well? Are they deflecting? Are they just speaking high level? I mean, you kind of know what type of conversation you're having based on that. And then as well, the integrity and sincerity from which they're approaching things. So by no means do you have to be the Dalai Lama in order to have a question answered. However, the likelihood of an INTJ wanting to have more in-depth conversations with you will go up if they are having those types of traits seen in the other person. And because there is a value there for both sides. It's the enrichment of the human experience between two people. So I hope that works. My brain is a little bit mushy after being stuck and doing domestic and teaching work while we're in this time. So as always, video requests put in the comment section below, and thanks so much.